LilyAnne's Wellbeing, live and online.
Welcome to the first LilyAnne's Wellbeing podcast. Within the podcast, we're going to be talking about mental health, loneliness, isolation, and neurodiversity. We're going to be hitting some hard-hitting subjects and talking about the real-life impact that LilyAnne's Wellbeing has on our community.
Before we talk about the work that we do, we thought it was really important to start with who we are, why LilyAnne's Wellbeing exists, and what keeps us coming back every day. We've got Trevor Sherwood, who's the co-founder and chief executive officer. Trevor, what led you to create LilyAnne's Wellbeing?
LilyAnne's Wellbeing was created from a coffee shop that was launched in 2017, and what we found is that people were lacking the support in the community in relation to their mental health and wellbeing, and they would actually come and talk to us for support.
So what personal experiences helped you shape the charity?
We kind of learned that there was no support in Hartlepool because family members within the town were getting lack of support when it came to their own personal mental health. And in 2021, I had my own personal mental health issues and health challenges. That really made me be able to relate to the clients that we support here. So we like to have an understanding approach, empathy and supportive environment.
And when you deliver support, did you notice any gaps locally?
We noticed that people were really struggling to access services, not because the services weren't there or because they had huge waiting lists, because people were simply too afraid to access the services and they thought, why would someone help me? And really it was about building their confidence and slowly asking people over time how they're getting on and how they moved forward. And the more and more that we did that, the more people came to us for support.
And do you feel that community-led solutions are important?
We must be community-led and the community must be able to decide the direction that they want to go into, whether that be community ownership on the high street or buildings or what direction they want to take, or community-led support whereby they are making the decisions with the support of policymakers to make sure that people are supported the way they should be within the right direction.
And why do you feel connection matters just as much as local, professional support?
Connection matters because people are on the ground need the real life support that they get, and basically, we need to be there for each other and support each other. If we can't be anything, we should be kind, and being amongst people can really help reduce the feelings of loneliness and it can reduce the risk of a mental health crisis.
And what was the moment that you realised something needed to change?
We would have people come into LilyAnne's Wellbeing who just wanted a coffee, and at that time we were a coffee shop, but they would actually be suicidal and they wanted to die with their friends because life wasn't worth living anymore for them, so they really, really struggled with that. And for me, that was a point where we thought something needs to be done. And then locally in Hartlepool, there was a number of suicides over a summer period, and from there we realised something must have to happen. Hartlepool has one of the highest suicide rates in the country, so we really wanted to give people another option, another place to come if they were feeling suicidal and the support they need. When it comes to neurodiversity, people with autism are 1 in 4 times more likely to commit suicide or attempt suicide just because of the way they are made up in their mechanics, really. So we found a lot of people that were coming to us had neurodiversity, autism, ADHD, dyscalculia, dyslexia, and all those other conditions that come with neurodiversity. And what we were finding is that they were not getting the right support because statutory organisations and public sector organisations weren't designed for the typical, they were more designed for neurotypical people, and they really struggled with accessing those services. And then when they did access the services, once they'd let slip that they had autism or ADHD, they would get declined from the service because they wouldn't be suitable. So I'm going to introduce Angela Arnold now, who is one of our co-founders as well. She is our community hub manager and she supports people within the community every single day, and she is the point of contact when people come in. So Angela, what does supporting the charity from day one look like for you?
I think it's about being there for the community and making sure that people know who they can talk to, who they can turn to, who can support them when they need it the most.
And what challenges do you think we have challenges every single day as a charity, but what challenges do you think we face the most while we're building a community organisation?
It's the way that the people receive you, I think, and the work that you deliver. I think one of the most challenging is trying to make sure that people know that you're in it for the right reasons, you're delivering the right support, making sure that services can understand who you are and what you do as an organisation, really.
What would you describe as how you feel when you are supporting someone through their darkest moments? Why do you keep coming to work every day when you're supporting people who are within a dark moment, and why would you support somebody?
When you're experiencing one of your darkest moments, you can feel quite alone, and you can feel as though nobody cares, nobody's there for you, nobody understands what you're going through. And I think when you see people come out the other side of that and you can hear their stories of how they've had a troublesome time, but they're getting through it, they're dealing with it. I think once you've been diagnosed with depression, it doesn't, a lot of people, when you're dealing with depression, it's an ongoing thing after that. It's not just a one-hit wonder. It's the way that your mind works, and it's the way that you change your perspective after that. And it's the way that you learn to deal with a challenging situation. I think seeing people gain their lives back after that is just incredible.
And what is the importance of compassion and listening to someone when it comes to their mental health?
I think a lot of people get told, by statutory services the same day in, day out. And, it's not down to the statutory services. They do have a challenging job, but they do have a remit. And I think having somebody who listens, can empathise, and not necessarily relate to their situation, but can listen to them talking about their situation and show that little bit of human kindness, really, just so that they know where they're going from there.
And why do you think someone could trust LilyAnne's Wellbeing if they're out there struggling with their mental health? They've got neurodiversity and they don't want to be here anymore.
Struggle with our own challenges of neurodiversity, and I think it's a daily occurrence in here. We get used to people coming in, and we're just a safe space. We're here to talk to, here to listen. We deal with people who were struggling to come to terms with their diagnosis, people who were struggling to understand their diagnosis, and people who don't necessarily know where to turn. But I think if they come and give us a chance, they'll understand that we can relate on some level and link them into the right support for them.
And what has surprised you the most since starting with LilyAnne's Wellbeing?
Our community grow, watching people who were so isolated, who didn't want to go out, didn't want to go anywhere, didn't know who to talk to, didn't know who to turn to, trusted us just that once, and then every day we come in and we see our community growing, thriving and achieving.
I think for me it's seeing our community, the amount of people within Hartlepool that need support with their mental health, the amount of people that are struggling every day, and the trust that they have within us to help them, support them through their situation. So when we're looking at LilyAnne's Wellbeing, why did we decide to name it that? Can you remember?
Yeah, so both of our nanas, Lillian and Anne, who are no longer with us, when my little girl was born, we wanted to have a family name, and we actually tried and toyed with a couple of names, but LilyAnne actually became my daughter's name. And when we were starting a coffee shop, which is what it was at the time, we were trying to find different ways to play with the name to get something catchy, something that people understood what we were doing. LilyAnne actually suggested peas, if you remember.
Because she didn't want the coffee shop to be named after her, so she said, why don't you call it Peas? But because Beans is coffee, we were talking about lots of Beans names around coffee, so she was like, she doesn't like the name Beans, she doesn't want it to be called LilyAnne's because that's her name, so we should call it Peas. And looking at the original vision, can you remember where that came from when we looked at how we can, why LilyAnne's became a thing? Can you remember how did we come from selling coffee to supporting people?
It came through time. A lot of people were coming to us and asking questions about where to go for support, what help to get, and I don't think people knew. I can remember the first day we opened our doors as a coffee shop, and I can remember the first days we opened our doors as a charity. Can you?
Yeah, and I think it just gets, it's a blur now because so many thousands of people have come through the door every day, like every year that we support. It's just an amazing journey that people put their trust in us to come and see us to help them with their problems. And originally it was part of our customer service where we helped people and we just asked them how their day was. And the next time they come in, we'd ask if they'd managed to sort something. And each week they put more and more trust in us until we became this huge mental health, neurodiversity, wellbeing hub across Hartlepool that gets spoken a lot about in meetings through the sector. And a lot of people do look forward to meeting us because we don't manage to get out that often because we're so busy supporting our community.
Can you remember the first people we supported?
I do remember the first people we supported, and for us, it was about knowing that we'd achieved something that day, and it felt really good, and maybe that's why we support people in the way we do, because it felt really good. There was a time where we were selling coffee, and we just weren't earning a good enough wage really, because we were spending that much on supporting the people that were coming in. If people were coming in struggling, we were buying them some underpants or whatever. Because they hadn't managed to change them. We had people coming in with ropes that we managed to get off them. And, it was just being there and listening to people one at a time. And I don't know whether you want to add something about the first people we supported, but for me, it is a blur. But because we've supported that many people, but I sleep better each night knowing that we've supported somebody and we've done the right thing. We've done the best we can.
People I remember supporting was a lovely lady, actually. And she came in and she was sat crying over a cup of tea. And, most people think, oh, are you okay? The normal response is, are you okay? Is everything okay? But clearly it wasn't, so I was like, oh, how can I ask her if everything's okay without asking her if she's okay? So I thought, right, I need a minute for this. So I just said, right. And I said, I'll be with you in just a minute. I gave her some tissues, passed her some tissues. I said, I'll give you a couple of minutes, and asked her how her tea was, and she looked at me as if to say, like, are you stupid? Like, how's my tea? I'm crying here. And then I passed her some napkins and said, I'll give you a couple of minutes and then we'll come back and we'll have a chat and we'll see what we can sort out. And she'd actually been given the last of her medication. She'd taken the last of her medication that day. And we didn't realise this at the time, but the first sentence she said to me when she seen me next time is, you didn't realise how much I was struggling. And I can't thank you enough, because thanks to you I'm here today.
And this happened I'm sure this happened on Christmas Eve or a couple of days before Christmas Eve, as everywhere was shutting and all the doctors were closing.
It was Christmas Eve, so it was the 23rd of December.
And I remember her saying to you that she wanted to go home, drink her last coffee, and that was it. Was it tea or coffee? Can you remember?
It was tea. And she said that she'd tried all the services, and this was just after COVID was about to go into its second lockdown. And she actually said to me that she couldn't go back home in the same circumstances. And when we got to the crux of it, it was a pair of scissors. She'd been ID'd for, her son had been ID'd for a pair of scissors. And she had a complete emotional breakdown, realised she'd overreacted over a pair of scissors, and came into LilyAnne's for her last cup of tea.
And I don't know about you, but what I find when I'm supporting someone is sometimes it's about that little slightest thing. And I know you call it the cherry on top analogy, but it is that little tiny thing that just throws someone over the edge to where they can't cope because they've got that much going on in their life where everything stacks up, and that one little last thing, like the pair of scissors, is enough to make someone think, I don't want to be here and my life's not worth living.
It's when I call it the cherry on top because it's the easiest thing to fix. It's the easiest problem to solve, but we're not allowed to complain about the bigger problems. We're not allowed to complain about, husbands or wives being in hospital. We're not allowed to complain about having a fallout with our family or anything like that. But we are allowed to complain about a broken cup or being ID'd over a pair of scissors and having to go out or something simple.
Thinking about this one, how do we come to work every day knowing that we're going to be supporting people who are struggling? What motivates you to come in? I know for me, it's about knowing that someone is always a little bit worse off than you when you come in and listen to what's going on in here. Someone's always having something more going on in their life, and it makes you realise how in perspective things are if you're having a bad day. And I think that motivation to come in and keep going is really strong. For me, we've had really tough year with my own health. After COVID, got fibromyalgia, type 1 diabetes, and suffer chronic pain. And then my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. She had a full mastectomy. She had a drain fitted. And within the midst of all that, there's a baby on the way as well, which hasn't been born yet. But for me, what's kept me motivated is knowing that when you're sitting in the chemo ward and you sat with people who really want to fight for their life and they're fighting to be here. So if I can give someone that hope who doesn't want to be here, that inspiration to know that someone loves them and that they've got someone to talk to, that is what keeps me motivated, I think. And, I know you can't do this, but if you could sit down and put people in a room where people are fighting for their life to live, and looking at someone's life who's a little bit worse than yours, you appreciate what's going on. And we appreciate here that people are fighting for their life every day when they're suicidal and they can't move away from those thoughts. And their life is so bad that they feel that they're not worth being here in it. So for me, it's encouraging people and reminding people what good looks like and how we can support people to get back on track and build their lives back together. I don't know what motivates you to come in every day. I know you suffer a lot of chronic pain as well, and you've had mental health challenges in the past.
It's knowing that I'm there for somebody else, knowing that somebody is there to listen. My husband's had his own mental health struggles and still ongoing. And one day he just said to me, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't because of you. And I sat there and I thought, how many people don't have somebody? How many people don't know who to turn to? How many people are genuinely struggling on a day-to-day basis, knowing that they don't have anybody else? And I think for me, knowing that I can be that friend for somebody that trusts me, understands, that life isn't easy. It does come with its challenges, but how can we work together to make those challenges seem a little bit easier? And sometimes that does come with the horror stories, sometimes that does come with sitting in hospitals at silly hours, making sure that people are okay and safe, but it also means that they're here and they're safe and they're still with us.
It's quite powerful, really, and for me, it's about just making sure we're there for people, we're listening to them, and we're supporting people when they need it. Our story really embezzles around a coffee shop and that non-clinical approach for people coming in and accessing support on the high street.
Shall we have a look at some of the people behind? We've got quite a lot of statistics now. Shall we have a look at some of the people behind the statistics?
Yeah, let's talk about the statistics really, and how we've helped so many people over the years, and I'll let you lead on that.
So some of the stories that we've looked at, we've helped people tackle their addiction just by listening to them. I think one of our first big stories was dealing with the crisis team, the housing team, wasn't it? And drug rehabilitation services all as one, and everyone treated it as an individual issue.
Yeah, and that's what we found, that the system doesn't work together. There's a lot of organisations that don't work together, and individuals are just bouncing from service to service, facing disappointment after disappointment. So for us, it's about changing the way that works and making sure that's community led and that community have a voice within that.
The challenging part is getting people to understand, that the person that is behind the service is a person as well, but they have a job to do. And I think sometimes it can be challenging for that person to do that job, you know, given their own life story. So sometimes it's a person forgetting that the other person's a person and kind of treating them with the respect and things like that. And I think once you get behind that and you can understand that they've got a lot going on, we've all got a lot going on, you know, it's not that individual, it's their job and they have a job to do. I think sometimes it's reminding people that they might have a job to do, but they are still people.
We get up every day to support people. We don't do it for the awards or the kudos. We don't do it for we do it to make sure we've changed that person's life. And not only do we do it, we actually don't really do much in that. We empower people to do it themselves, because we know that there's going to be no mental health change if we don't help them find the root cause of their mental health and what's going on. Particularly, we're all neurodivergent in here, I would say. I've got a dual diagnosis for autism ADHD. We're looking at Angela over here, who has suspected ADHD. Every one of our team members here is on the spectrum, and we've all faced the challenges of masking. We've all faced the challenges of not being understood in the world that we exist in. So we really focus on those people as well, because people with autism are 1 in 4 times more likely to commit suicide. You've got people with ADHD who are more likely to head for gambling and drug addictions because just their personality. So everything that we touch on really has an impact on someone's well-being and mental health. And simply being autistic or having ADHD does not mean you're going to kill yourself. It's all the stuff that comes with it, the masking, the way our brains think differently, and our addictive personalities.
The most rewarding part of our job is when we get to see people get their lives back on track, when they get to, you know, they've been on the sick long term and they're really struggling with mental health, and they get to go away and, you know, after a period of time they get to reflect. And I call it the lock and key analogy at the moment, that they are the key, and once they realise that they are the key, they can unlock their mental health, really. I think that people become too consumed and suffocated with depression, anxiety, diagnosis, that they forget that, you know, with ADHD and autism specifically, a lot of people at the moment are going through a diagnosis in their 40s, 50s and 60s, but they're forgetting that they've learned a lifetime of skills that allow them to manage that. And as soon as they hear the diagnosis, suddenly that world comes crashing down. How do I cope? What did I do? Why was it missed for so long? How can nobody understand me? How could nobody see it? And I think for me, getting them to understand that actually, you know, we're all taught to kind of mask our ADHD at school and nurseries, you know, sit still, put your hand up when you need to talk, don't interrupt when we're talking. You know, we're taught to mask it really early on. And I think for me, I don't know about you, but COVID kind of taught me that, you know, all those masks kind of slipped after COVID. So I think it's massively underdiagnosed, and it has been for some time. But then again, I think it's understanding, you know, how far it's come since then. What do you think?
I think when you get that diagnosis, one thing you've got to know is nothing's actually changed. You've already lived your whole life with those conditions and nothing's really changed. But you can feel overwhelmed because you've got some news that you weren't expecting, even though you might have been expecting it because you did push for the autism or the ADHD diagnosis. And there's lots of people coming out now with that as they get older. And that's because, did we underdiagnose as a younger age? Were signs missed? Were key things mixed? You know, it is real, and it does really affect the way we function and the way we see the world in a different light. So for me, I think it's so important for people to be listened to, valued. And in LilyAnne's, we have this amazing concept built around the coffee shop. The coffee shop is still there today, but now we have a community centre, we have a community kitchen, we have one-to-one rooms, we've got accredited counsellors, you know, we've got the support in place to help people who are really struggling. And really, that's where we're at with that. And I think We can support people who are newly diagnosed, who've lived their whole life thinking something's wrong with me, because the diagnosis is a light bulb moment when you realise actually there is something going on. It's not just, I'm not just weird, and there is something actually happening there. But yeah, that's how we sit with that, and that's challenging, isn't it?
I think as well it's helping somebody get their diagnosis. A lot of people don't know that they can or how to choose it or what options are available. But change of subject, what do you think the future looks like for LilyAnne's Wellbeing, Trevor?
The future for us is really, we're actually coming up to our 9th year this year. The future initially was being a really good coffee shop that sells great coffee. And I'm not going to lie, we do still do a good coffee.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's that coffee that we can grab people in with, and we can have a conversation, because when you're struggling with your mental health, you can just say, I'm going for a coffee. I'm not going to clinic. I'm not going to see a psych. I'm not going to see a therapist. I'm actually just off for a coffee. And for me, the future is keeping hold of that and making sure that people are able to engage in non-clinical environments where they feel comfortable, where they feel supported. For us, it's about developing the support available in here for people. And why I think every single team member in here is probably ready for a break, because we have studied and studied and studied that we've got so many qualifications, and we still want to invest in those qualifications to make sure we've got the right stuff in place to support people. And for us, I know Angela is about to start a level 4 in counselling. You'll be excited about that. I'm doing a master's at Teesside Uni in psychology, and I've done my foundation degree in counselling. It's a journey that's took us on quite a good way, really. So for me, the future holds, I don't know what the future holds, because we've gone completely in a different direction to where we should be. Maybe just that everywhere is accessible, supportive to people with ADHD, neurodiversity, and that we're all accepted for who we are, and services are designed in a way to accept us all. I don't know what the future holds for you, but that's my, I've got ideas all over the place. And sometimes with my autistic brain, I can map them out and visualise them before they're implemented. But for me, we've got housing support on the go, we've got counselling, wellbeing services, and we just want to keep making sure people get the right support. And we've been in so many directions with LilyAnne's. We've supported housing, homelessness, and mental health, suicide prevention, loneliness, and our really, really key areas, we've really narrowed down what we do, because we were doing a lot. So for me, the future holds a refined service, which we've got, which is counselling, housing support, loneliness, mental health support, ADHD support, autism support. The list is endless. But we have some great partners out there to deliver the best that we were doing, because we're doing a lot of everything. I don't know what the future holds for you, because I asked you that about a few minutes ago and didn't even hand over to you.
All right. I think what I love about the work that we do is the future actually isn't in our hands, it's in our community that we support. So I think our community take us in their own direction. We've got the skills, because everybody said you're just a coffee shop, what do you know? So we thought, right, actually we need to back up these skills. So we got qualifications. We're all currently level 3 trained. We're currently, majority of us are, I think 2 of us are psychology trained. And then we've got more coming down the path. So, we've got level 3 qualifications. We're currently about to do our level 4 qualifications. We've got peer-to-peer support qualifications undergoing.
We've just got qualifications everywhere, really, haven't we? And,
we're getting there.
We are getting there with it. But, I think for me, we looked at the qualifications because, as a charity in Hartlepool, we faced a lot of criticism.
Do we believe that nobody should have to struggle alone?
I think for far too long people have struggled alone, and I think they don't need to, because you can come in here and ask for someone to talk to, and we'll listen to you. a problem halved is a problem shared philosophy. I don't know what you're thinking.
I agree. I certainly think that people, they need to talk to people and reach out. There's always somebody there for you.
Yeah, and if you think your life's worth ending, it's not. You've got it. There's 100 reasons for you still to live, and just put us on your list of people to come and see. Because we will help you in ways that you never thought would be possible.
And I think the best thing, about the support that we do is if we feel like somebody is more qualified or does feel like they can, get a different level of support, or, if you feel like you've not got the right counsellor, we can swap counsellors, or we can help you get in with other services and make sure that you get the right support for you.
That's one of the things we do is, we do connect people with the right charity. We might not be the best organisation to help you, but we will know the best people out there to help you. That's the thing, isn't it? We work together, charities work together in the town. We kind of, your trampoline analogy, I don't know whether you want to talk about that.
I always say that, like when you're on a trampoline, if a spring breaks, you can only get a scratch. But if we are the trampoline and it breaks, then you can gain a serious injury. So we always say that, you need to speak to other community members. We work really well with other trusted organisations. We've got an extensive list of who we work with. And we do have some excellent community partners.
And that is so important. Charities working together to support each other and making sure our people are supported. But that probably is the end of our podcast today, because we have waffled on for over half an hour. We are here. We hope you come and join us for the next podcast. I don't know what you want to see in some of the podcasts, Angela.
Oh, I don't know. I think we might need to speak to some of the people that we've been supporting. We might need to get a few of the counsellors in.
To be hearing firsthand from the people we've supported, because we have called it Recorded in the Wellbeing Room, real stories, real people, real change. And I think the theme is going to be trying to help people out there with their mental health and sharing inspirational stories.
And I think it's going to be about how they've overcome the barriers, what stopped them seeking support, why don't they reach out for support from other services, what support's available for them right now. And I think, sometimes we do need to hear what got you through.
And just remembering that support is available out there. But over the coming episodes, we will be speaking to some people with lived experience. We'll be talking to some professionals. I want to invite some community partners in here as well to talk about their challenges, how they support people, and, get the message out there that support is available. If you would like to learn more about our work, what's the website, Angela?
It's www.LilyAnne's.co.uk.